Welcome to the debate. So, picture this. You're managing a team in a World Cup final, and you decide to bench your star captain.
Which is usually a terrible idea, by the way.
Right, a massive gamble. But you aren't doing it because he told you he's tired, and you aren't doing it because he's limping. You're pulling him off the pitch because an algorithm, reading data from a microchip in his shoe, predicts his hamstring will snap in exactly 4.2 minutes.
It sounds like science fiction, doesn't it?
It really does. But for over a century, football fans and pundits have, romanticized the manager on the touchline. We watch them pacing the technical area, staring out at the pitch, eyes narrowed.
We do. We've treated that gaze like the penetrating stare of a master tactician who simply feels the flow of the game.
Exactly. We assume they intuitively understand its geometric complexities.
Oh, absolutely. We celebrate the gut feeling of the manager and the sports performance analyst up in the booth. The inspired substitution, right?
Yeah.
The sudden tactical shift that supposedly comes from decades of empirical observation, pure, unadulterated instinct. We view the touchline as this place of human artistry.
Right. But what if that artistic gaze is fundamentally, biologically inadequate? Because we are looking at a monumental transformation reshaping world football right now.
We really are.
So the central question we are tackling today, drawn straight from contemporary literature on smart football, is this. As artificial intelligence and complex data science permeate every layer of the sport, does human intuition, that traditional gut feeling, still have a place on the touchline for coaches and analysts? Or has algorithmic certainty rendered experiential bias completely obsolete?
It's a profound tension, honestly, and it's one that completely dominates the conversations of modern sports data scientists. We are seeing a total architectural shift in decision-making.
My position on this is definitive. I argue that AI has effectively superseded human intuition in coaching and performance analysis. It does this by providing mathematically precise, predictive ecosystems that they strip away our cognitive and experiential biases.
And my perspective is fundamentally different. I argue that AI merely acts as a cognitive amplifier, meaning human intuition remains the essential, irreducible core required to navigate the inherent chaos of the sport. You needed to actually translate raw data into tangible leadership.
Well, let's start with the baseline of how decisions used to be made, right? Because we have to understand the flaw to understand the fix. For over a century, football was governed by human intuition, which suffers from massive outcome bias.
Outcome bias. Explain that for the listeners.
Yeah, so a coach or a performance analyst would judge a tactical decision based purely on whether a goal was scored or a pass was completed. If the ball goes in the net, it was a brilliant tactical substitution.
Right, and if it hits the post, it was a massive mistake.
Exactly. But outcome does not equal optimal strategy.
Because you can make the mathematically correct decision and still get unlucky, or make a terrible decision and get lucky.
Spot on. Modern sports analytics counter this historical flaw through concepts like expected threat, or XT, and expected possession value, EPV. To put it simply, these are models powered by reinforcement learning and Markov decision processes.
Which, I have to say, sounds incredibly
In the farthest reaches of space, one scientist refused to stop searching. Every discovery uncovers the Scientist Explorers. Available now, just $4.99 on Amazon Kindle Unlimited. Start the adventure today.
dense to the average fan.
It does. But think of it like a chess supercomputer. A Markov decision process doesn't just look at the pass a player's making right now. It calculates the probability of a goal 5 moves ahead, based on the exact geometric positioning of all 22 players on the pitch.
Okay, so it's mapping the entire future of the play.
Precisely. It mathematically evaluates the risk and reward of every single action, frame by frame. So when a manager decides to substitute a winger, relying on intuition is now a massive liability.
A liability?
Yes. You are comparing a human brain's memory of past matches to an algorithm that calculates the specific tactical variation, yielding the highest probabilistic increase in scoring. It turns tactical adjustments from a guessing game into a precise, predictive science.
Look, I will readily acknowledge the staggering computational power of the AI we are discussing. The technological foundation of smart football is frankly breathtaking.
It really is.
We are talking about the creation of a real-time digital twin of the pitch. Modern stadiums operate as massive edge computing hubs utilizing sensor fusion. They use high-frequency optical tracking cameras combined with IMUs, inertial measurement units.
Right, which are essentially microscopic gyroscopes embedded directly inside the actual match ball, tracking its spin and velocity, 1,000 times a second?
Exactly. And those sensors capture data at a fidelity the human eye could never dream of. But here is where we diverge. Football is not played on a spreadsheet.
Oh, here we go.
No, really, it is played on grass. The sport remains inherently chaotic, fluid, and unpredictable. AI maps the pitch as a fluctuating mathematical matrix, sure, but it is the human coach's intuition, empathy, and leadership that are absolutely required to apply these insights. Intuition hasn't been rendered obsolete. It has simply been freed from guesswork so the coach and the analyst can actually execute their craft.
But executing their craft historically meant guessing. Let's look closely at in-game tactical cognition versus human observation. In real time, artificial intelligence uses deep neural networks to evaluate the probability of success for every potential pass or run. We are no longer relying on a coach's retrospective statistics at halftime. Analytical insights now reveals structural fractures in an opponent's formation before the human eye can even detect them.
When you say structural fractures, you mean spaces opening up in the defense.
Right. The algorithm identifies that the gap between the opposition's center back and fullback is expanding by, say, a few centimeters per second. It projects that trajectory and realizes an optimal passing lane will exist in exactly 1.5 seconds.
Okay.
No human eye can process that geometry in real time. I see why you think that intuition is still driving the craft, but let me give you a different perspective.
Go ahead.
Think of modern coaching like flying a commercial jet in a severe storm. The human pilot looking out the cockpit window sees nothing but chaos, rain, dark clouds.
Right.
But the instruments, the algorithmic radar systems, they can detect the exact path of least resistance through the weather system. Why on earth should a coach trust their organic eyes or their feel for the storm when an optimization algorithm dictates the most mathematically efficient path to breaking defensive lines? The pilot flies on instruments. The modern coach must manage on algorithms.
I come at it from a different way. Your jet analogy is elegant, but it assumes the plane itself has no psychology, no fatigue, no human will.
They're highly trained professionals.
Sure, but a plane's ailerons don't lose confidence after missing a tackle. A jet engine doesn't feel the crushing, paralyzing pressure of an 80,000-seat stadium chanting against them.
Okay, fair point. But
When that algorithm detects the mathematically efficient path through the defensive line, that structural fracture you mentioned, it assumes the player tasked with making that run is functioning as a perfect emotionless variable.
well, executing the run is literally their job.
But they aren't robots. The coach's intuition is what assesses the emotional state of that player in real time. Is the winger hesitating because he was just brutally fouled 2 minutes ago and is subconsciously protecting his ankle?
The telemetry would pick up the ankle issue.
But not the fear. Is the team's overall morale collapsing because they just conceded a heartbreaking goal? An algorithm can dictate the optimal run. It can calculate pitch control. But a manager's intuitive leadership dictates whether the players possess the belief to actually execute it.
I think
AI is the cognitive amplifier. It shows the path through the storm, but human intuition is what actually navigates the psychological complexity required to fly the plane.
that actually brings us to a really fascinating juncture. Because if you are arguing that the tactical algorithms fail when the human component, the muscles, the fatigue, the physical reality breaks down, well, I have to point out that AI has solved the biological failure problem too.
Solved it? That's a bold claim.
It has. When we move from tactical maneuvering to the physical management of the players, the performance analyst's intuition is entirely dead. It is empirically obsolete.
Obsolete is a very strong word when dealing with human biology.
It is the accurate word. Let's look at how algorithmic forecasting has replaced empirical observation. Historically, an analyst or a coach looked at a player on the pitch and thought, he looks heavy-legged, or she seems to be lagging behind the play.
Right, the traditional gut feeling of fatigue.
Exactly. Today, machine learning systems analyze continuous streams of telemetry data harvested from wearable sensors on the players. We are talking about evaluating asymmetrical loading.
Meaning a player is favoring one leg over the other without realizing it?
Precisely. The system detects micro variations in stride length and neuromuscular degradation. By applying these multivariable predictive regressions, sports medical teams now forecast soft tissue injuries before they manifest clinically. They know a hamstring is going to tear 48 hours before the player even feels a twinge.
Wait. Let's pause there for a second. 48 hours before a twinge? You're saying the machine knows the muscle will fail 2 days before the athlete's own nervous system registers the pain?
Yes, because the athlete is subconsciously compensating for microscopic muscular fatigue. The gyroscopes pick up that their hip rotation is off by like 3 degrees, and that puts a tiny percentage of extra load on the hamstring.
Oh, wow.
The human eye can't see a 3-degree shift from the touchline. The player can't feel it, but the algorithmic model calculates that at this current rate of load, the muscle fibers will rupture in 48 hours. The analyst's gut feeling that a player looks tired is completely replaced by absolute undeniable biological modeling.
That's a compelling argument. I'll give you that. But have you considered the actual intervention point? The data telemetry you're describing is an incredible warning system. A machine flags the neuromuscular degradation? Absolutely.
Right.
It optimizes the athlete as a biological system. But the decision of how to act on that telemetry data requires extreme human nuance.
Nuance doesn't heal a torn hamstring. If the predictive regression says the player is in the red zone for asymmetrical loading, keeping them on the pitch is an objective failure of management.
Is it? Let's say it is the 85th minute of a World Cup semi-final. The data telemetry on your tablet is flashing red. The predictive regression says there is an 80% chance of a soft tissue rupture if he continues.
Then you pull him off the pitch.
But this player is your captain. He is the emotional fulcrum of your entire squad. He's a legend in his country, and you are down by 1 goal. The algorithm only weighs the biological risk. The manager's intuition weighs the athlete's drive, the irreplaceable context of a match that defines a national legacy, and the squad's collective morale. But the manager has to decide, do we risk the muscle to win the World Cup? A mathematical model cannot make that value judgment. It requires empirical coaching to decide whether to execute that preemptive substitution or let the captain play through the algorithmic red zone on pure, unquantifiable human adrenaline.
But that is exactly the kind of experiential bias that smart football was designed to eradicate. You are arguing for the preservation of a romanticized risk.
I'm arguing for human reality.
When a manager ignores the biomechanical modeling because of legacy or adrenaline, they are effectively gambling with a multi-million-dollar asset, not to mention a human being's physical health, based on pure sentimentality.
It's not sentimentality,
And when that hamstring inevitably snaps in the 86th minute, leaving the team down a man for the final crucial moments of the match, that intuition suddenly looks like negligent coaching. The AI delivers a highly calibrated predictive ecosystem. Ignoring it is no longer brave. It's foolish.
It's not ignoring it, it's contextualizing it. The AI handles the immense computational burden of physical load management, sure. It strips away the guesswork of when the fatigue is happening, but the human being decides what that fatigue actually means in the context of the sport. The AI is the dashboard, not the driver.
Well, if we are talking about the reality that a manager can't just magically summon a fresh hamstring onto the pitch, we have to look at how players are acquired in the first place.
The boardroom.
Exactly. If we step away from the touchline and move into the recruitment departments, we see this exact same dynamic playing out in talent identification. And once again, statistical projections are proving vastly superior to the abstract concept of an experienced scout's eye for potential.
Talent identification is perhaps the most heavily contested ground between data science and human observation.
Because human observation failed for decades. I mean, the traditional scouting model was incredibly precarious. A scout sits in the stands, watches a player, and relies on highly subjective biases to recommend a $50 million transfer.
A bit reductive, but okay.
AI minimizes those immense financial and sporting risks. We now have machine learning pipelines that process vast data sets encompassing thousands of players across dozens of global leagues simultaneously. They use clustering algorithms to identify underlying kinematic and statistical similarities.
Let's break that down for a second. Kinematic similarities.
Right, it basically means mapping physical movements. Let's say a top European club is looking for a new attacking midfielder. They want to know how a 19-year-old prodigy playing in Brazil will adapt to their specific high-pressing tactical system. Historically, they'd ask an old scout if the kid has grit or vision. Today, they use AI. The clustering algorithm might reveal that this 19-year-old accelerates into space exactly like Kevin De Bruyne did at the same age.
Wow.
It matches their hip rotation, their sprint bursts, their spatial awareness matrices. The AI runs multivariable regressions to project the Brazilian player's future performance trajectory based on how statistically similar profiles adapted in the past. It literally quantifies the previously abstract concept of potential. It turns squad building into a rigorous analytical foundation rather than a speculative gamble.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that. Let me tell you why.
Go ahead.
Let's address the elephant in the room. If these predictive regressions are so flawless, if the clustering algorithms are so perfect at identifying potential, why did massive clubs with huge data analytics departments still buy monumental flops?
Well,
Why do we see Premier League clubs spend $100 million on a player who completely fails to fit their system? The math isn't matching the reality.
the math is providing a probability, not a prophecy. And often those failures happen because the human manager overrides the data. Or they fail to deploy the player in the specific systemic role the algorithm identified them for.
Or perhaps it's because kinematic similarities do not account for human adaptability. You can have a clustering algorithm that proves a young South American prodigy has the exact stride length, sprint speed, and spatial awareness of a world-class European midfielder.
Right, a mechanical match.
Mechanically, they're identical. But the multivariable regression cannot quantify how that 19-year-old will react to moving 6,000 miles away from their family. It cannot model cultural integration, it cannot model language barriers, and most importantly, it cannot model the sheer, unquantifiable athletic brilliance required to recover from a string of bad performances in front of a hostile, demanding media.
But those psychological factors are increasingly being quantified through behavioral data analysis.
Oh, come on. You can't quantify a human soul. The AI is merely handling the computational burden of narrowing down a list of 10,000 players to 50. It acts as an incredible filter, sure, but the final evaluation of a player's grit, their psychological resilience, and their adaptability, that relies purely on the subjective, empirical intuition of the scouting director or the manager who sits across from them in a room and looks them in the eye.
That sounds nice, but it's a defensive retreat. You're isolating intuition to the very last fraction of the process because the algorithms have conquered 99% of the cognitive workload.
It's a vital 1%.
But by the time the manager sits leave out room, AI has already dictated who is fundamentally capable of playing the system. The machine learning pipeline built the room, selected the candidate, and provided the probabilistic guarantee of their success. The human is just there to sign the paperwork and feel like they made the choice.
That is a fundamental misunderstanding of what a cognitive amplifier is. Yes, the AI clears the noise. It processes the millions of spatiotemporal data points that the human brain biologically cannot process. It tells us who has the lungs and the legs to play the game.
Exactly.
But the remaining 1% you are dismissing is the entirety of the human experience. It is the chaos, the emotion, the empathy. The algorithm doesn't make the choice. It provides a probabilistic framework so that the human can make a wiser choice.
But that choice is increasingly, inevitably constrained by algorithmic certainty. If we summarize the core of my stance today, it is this. Artificial intelligence, through mechanisms like expected threat, the construction of edge computing digital twins, and multivariable biometric modeling, provides a rigorous analytical foundation that fundamentally replaces subjective human intuition.
I see.
The predictive science is simply too precise, too encompassing, and too revealing for modern coaches and analysts to rely on gut feelings. The architecture of decision-making has evolved beyond our biological capacity to process it, and trusting the math is the only way forward.
And my summarizing view is that while AI strips away the guesswork and serves as a phenomenal cognitive amplifier, it cannot replace the essence of the sport. Football remains a fluid, chaotic endeavor, performed by highly emotional human beings under immense pressure.
True.
Navigating that chaos requires the unquantifiable human elements of empathy, intuition, and leadership.